Let's make a leather purse.
All right, today we're going to be making a leather purse, and I'm going to be starting with my template here, and we're going to cut this down, then we're going to glue it onto some cardstock. We're going to tape these together. We're going to cut on the dashed line. It's going to be connected like this. We'll use our brayer to smooth it out. Let's cut these little side pieces here first. I like to rotate the knife and the cardstock. It helps get a nice round corner cut. Now let's trim down the excess, or we're going to be taping these together. Now let's cut this arc. I have marked on my template here where I'm cutting and taping. So you have 1A connects with 1B and 2A connects with 2B. So we're going to connect things like this. I'm going to apply my tape here to one side first. Okay. Right. I want to get this leather wet with water here. I'm going to case it. Just makes it a little bit easier to mark. Okay, then I'm going to cut the excess off. Trace around. It's just going to leave a little indentation into the leather that we'll be able to see and we'll be able to cut. Okay, now we can remove our template. Okay, now we're ready to cut out our template with our craft knife. I think now I'll do these rounded corners here. I think we're done with our ruler, so hit up this corner here. Let's do the next corner. Okay. Now, just like our template, we're going to have this little arc here. So slowly follow the line. All right, now we're going to take out our edge beveler. We're going to bevel the edges. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, so let's take a look at our pieces, our side pieces, and our accessories for this leather purse in Design Space. Now I have some of these layers set to foil bold, and then some of these layers set for basic cut. So let's click make. Now, we need to make sure that we put this piece that's been attached, all these pieces, in the center of the mat. Click continue. Now let's click browse all materials, and since we're cutting leather but we're foiling on it to get the marks for our stitching holes, we're going to have to select a different material setting other than leather. So let's search for craft board and select that. That allows us to foil on the leather without using the leather settings. Now let's load up the foil tip with the deep foil bit attached, and we'll load that into the clamp. Okay. All right, before we cut this piece of leather on our cricket, let's get it wet first. Let's case it up so it makes it a little bit easier to cut. All right, let's wait for this to dry a bit, and then we're going to get ready to cut it with our cricket. And just as we did in Design Space, make sure to apply this leather in the middle, in the center of your mat. I'm using transfer tape on the back to protect my mat from debris. I'm also using some artist tape on all four corners here, just to make sure that this leather stays put. Also, move these star wheels off to the side. You do not want those adding any kind of grooves on your leather. Okay, so let's load it up. Okay, now we're ready to start foiling. Okay, now we're done with the foiling tip. Okay, so we can take that out. I'm going to replace it with the deep blade. All right, now we can unload the mat. Right, looks pretty good. Now, let's unload this from the mat. All right, now let's take these pieces of leather off the mat. Looks like everything got cut properly. Let's take a look at our pieces here. Got 4 little accessory pieces. These little side pieces, and then the flaps here. Okay. Looks pretty good. Okay. And then our side pieces here. Okay, these pieces are still a little wet, so they're going to be a little darker, but you can compare these to the main part of the bag here. It's going to be sort of folding this around like this. Okay. Something like this. And we'll be able to put these side pieces in here. Okay, now we're going to work on beveling the edges to these sides for our leather purse. So take out your edge beveler and bevel the edges. Okay, now let's use our awl. We're going to awl through these holes that we previously marked with the cricket. Okay, now we're going to have this side piece, and we're going to sew on this extra little piece here and put our D-ring on there. So all the holes in here as well. All right. Well, this is going to fold back like this, like I said, with the D-ring on it. It's going to look something like this. So while we're here, let's bevel the edge of this little strap piece. Okay, so we're going to have to run our awl through these holes again just to make sure they're large enough that we can accept our needles. Okay. You might have to do this a few times so these holes are large enough. Okay, we'll keep working. I should see the holes looking something like this. All right, it's all these holes here. Same thing, make them large enough to accept the needles. Okay. I have two of these straps here. They're pretty consistent. We're going to have to bevel the edges of these as well. Okay, these look good. All right, now let's go back to this larger piece for our leather purse. You can see I've pre-marked these holes, but we're gonna have to make them larger for our needles to fit. So I'm gonna take my awl back out and I'm just gonna go through again. I'm gonna make sure they're large enough. Okay, you can see those first two are a little bit larger here. I'm gonna go through, twist the awl, right? Just go nice and slow, try to put the awl straight in, and go all the way down the side. Make sure you don't push the awl too far in. You keep all those holes nice and consistent. Looks pretty good. Compare that with the other side. These holes are a lot bigger, right? They're going to be able to fit our needles. Okay, now that side piece, or both side pieces, need to be re-awled as well. Okay, we're going to be connecting these side pieces to that main piece. So make sure those holes are nice and consistent. Okay, looks pretty good. Let me fold this bag up and you're going to be able to see how it's going to go together. Okay, kind of folds two ways, right? And that side piece goes on like that. It's going to go on the outside. The side piece is going to go on the outside. So I like to kind of fold these pieces on the side down, right? On this larger section, kind of see what I'm doing? I'm sort of rolling them with my fingers. You can bevel the edge of the suede side. You could make it a little thinner, but I find that just kind of folding these makes it a little bit easier to construct. So I'm going to take my awl, I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to work on re-awling these holes as well. Make sure they're nice and consistent. Try to push your awl straight through. And the other side piece is going to fit over on this side. So eventually we're going to be saddle stitching, so we need our holes consistent. Okay, do that last hole. Make sure everything's nice and consistent. Now we're going to have to do the same thing on this other side. We're going to just put a little bend, right? Just like we did on that other side. We're just going to kind of fold this down. You can get the leather wet. It helps a little bit, but I find that just a small little fold here really does help when you're stitching. Okay, you might have to go over it a few times. You can see those side pieces they're the seam, so they're a little wider than the rest of that bag, the flaps. So you want to make sure you don't fold any farther in. Okay, see what I'm doing there? I'm just kind of laying it on the table, making sure it's nice and square. Okay, you can take off some of the material on the back with the beveler, or you could sand it down. You can use a special tool to sort of crease this, but I find that just doing it by hand is enough. Okay, this bag has a slight curve in it, so when we get to the sewing part, I'll show you how to kind of take up some of that slack so we get a nice edge. Okay, run your fingers through it again, make sure it's keeping that shape. I think that looks pretty good. You fold this back up and we'll do another dry run. My template is set up where all those holes are perfectly aligned. Okay, I use a paper template for this main section. Then I used a Cricut to help me cut out these side pieces. You could have cut those by hand as well, but I'm just showing you two varieties, two variations on how you can cut leather. Okay. Now again, you're going to have a curve on the bottom of this, right? You can see the rounded corners on the bottom of that side piece. So I'm going to take out some wax thread, okay? Get a span that's comfortable for your arms, right? I'm going to just cut off here. Okay, I'm going to take out 2 needles, right? Now I'm going to feed this one end of the wax thread through the eye of the needle. I'm going to do a locking knot, right? I'm going to take that tail, make sure it's longer than the needle. Then watch, I'm going to pierce the thread, right? I'm going to go right in between. I'm going to do it twice, right? Wrap it the other way and pierce it again. So I kind of have this S shape. Right? See what I'm doing? I'm going to pull that tail down and you have a really nice locking knot. Nice streamlined knot that won't get in the way of the holes, and it's really strong. So do the same thing on the other side. Pierce that thread twice, get an S shape, and pull that tail down. Now, the thread is already waxed, but I like to run some wax over the thread just to helps me prevent snags and frays, and it keeps this thread nice and smooth. Okay, now run that wax in with your fingers. Now make sure it's equal distance, right? Now we're going to insert our needle into that side piece, into that top hole. You can start on either side, but right, so I'm starting at the top left here, making sure, again, put my needles together, get equal distance, right? And I'm going to move on to the next hole. Now I'm saddle stitching, so when I put one needle through, I got to put this other needle through the same hole but from the other side, right? And that'll create a saddle stitch, really strong stitch. Okay, now you made a single saddle stitch. I'm going to lay this flat. You can kind of see. I'm going to tighten it up a bit. You can see what we're doing here, right? Just keep saddle stitching, go all the way down, then do the rounded corners, and then up the other side. So just keep going. Okay, so when we approach the bottom here, the rounded part, you can't lay this flat anymore. So progressively sort of roll that larger piece and just try to line up those holes, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to put a nice curve, right? You can cut little notches on the bottom to relieve some of that. But I find that this size bag, you don't really need to do that, right? Now, once you get past that curve, I like to start on the other side. Okay, that way I just kind of make sure everything's even. So same thing we did on the one side, we're going to do it on the other. Put the needle through the side piece, it goes on top, then in the middle section, and then saddle stitch all the way down, do the curve and back up. Okay, put that needle through, put the other needle back through the same hole from the other side, and tighten it up. Every stitch, but don't tighten it too much, just enough to keep things secure. And keep going. Tighten it up, right? I love to saddle stitch, it's really fun. Okay, now we're doing the bottom corner here where it's rounded. And that middle section's already sort of folded since we started with that other side. You can put a few needles in here into the next couple holes to help you align things, but on this size bag, it's not really necessary. All right, just feed your needle through the side and then through that main section, right? If you can't get both holes, you can pull it through the middle and then the side in two different passes, and that's okay. Tighten it up. All right. You see why we bent those sides? Looks pretty good so far. This looks good. Okay, let's work on the rest of that bottom curve. Make sure you don't skip any holes. Okay, it looks like we're past that curved part, so now let's run saddle stitch all the way up this other side. Okay, when you're finished, tie off and cut off the excess on both sides. Okay, cut off the excess again and then use your lighter to secure those threads. Okay, it looks pretty good. You did a good job. Okay, this purse is starting to take shape. These bottoms are pretty good. Looks nice. This is the first purse I've made, so I'm pretty happy with this for my first one. This looks pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to take this little section here on the side for the side where we're going to be attaching our hardware, our D ring, right? See that ring there on the table? It's shaped like a D. So you need two needles on a piece of thread again. This can be a little bit shorter of a span. It's a shorter amount we're sewing. So sort of pick a hole. I'm going to start from the bottom. Maybe I should have started from the top, but for now I'm just starting in that middle hole, right? It's obviously going, that small section's going on the outside. Okay, put those needles together, get equal distance, and now pick a side to run up, okay? Right, just, so you have to run it through the side little D-ring area, and then through that side of the purse, okay? I'm gonna come out in the center. You can use your pliers if you feel like you can't pull it through with your hands. Be very careful not to break your needle with the pliers, but it's okay if you need to use pliers. It's okay. Okay, so before we get too close to the top here, I need to insert my D-ring and fold that top part down, right? You can see the holes that are marked in that little piece there. They line up, and you're going to go through 3 layers now. Right? You're going to go through the top section and then where you fold it down. And if you need to go through, see, I'm going through just one section at a time. Sometimes it's hard to find the hole on multiple sections. Make sure that D-ring doesn't get in the way. Make sure you don't sew through it. Maybe I should have started from the top so that would have been secure, but I think this is okay. Right, I'm going through that bottom piece here. Need to use my pliers again, sort of help me pull that needle out real carefully. Okay. This is a little tricky. Again, I probably should have started from the top because that D-ring has a tendency to kind of move around on you until you get it secure. But we'll get it. We'll get it. Tighten it up. You can see what we're doing. Those 6 holes are in a line there. And we'll go on to the next hole. Try to find all 3 layers if you can, but if you need to go one section at a time, that's okay. All right, use those pliers to help you. Probably should have auled these holes a little bit more, but that's okay. Let's see if I can grab both sections. Trying to get the back of that inside piece. No, I'm just going to go one at a time. Takes a little longer, but that's okay. I suppose getting that side piece wet and folding it would maybe help it keep its shape a little better. Or using a couple needles on the other side where you're not sewing will help align things. But I'm just doing this real basic just to show you. All right, once we get past these next couple of holes, that D-ring will stay in place. Okay, pull that needle out. Okay, tighten it up. Make sure that D-ring's in place before you tighten it down, right? Make sure that's up there. Obviously the flat part of the D kind of it sits inside, right? You see what we're doing there? I suppose you could have folded it the other way, but I kind of like this because you don't really see that fold. You probably could have taken some material off if you're going to fold it too. Makes it a little bit flatter, more streamlined, but I think this is okay for a beginner purse. I think this looks good. You know, these side pieces probably take more time than the main construction. Even though there's less stitches, there's just more to finagle. Less holes to stitch, but you have to deal with this fold over and you have to deal with that D-ring. And the tolerances are pretty close when you're dealing with these little small holes really close to each other. So if you have to go one hole at a time, that's okay. Just don't skip any holes. Okay? And if you do, you can always start over. You can always rip these seams out and start again. That's not a big deal. And see, now that we're secure here, we're going to go to the next hole. Okay. Okay, so on that last hole, you want to make sure that both needles are in the inside of the bag. So when we tie off, we don't see any of the excess, right? We don't want to tie off on the outside, naturally. We want to tie off on the inside. So try to find both those holes. It's a little bit easier when there's only 2 layers to go through. Use your pliers and help you pull that needle out if you need to, right? Okay, it looks like we have one more hole to go through. And again, make sure we get both needles on the inside of the bag before we tie off. Okay, looks pretty good. Now just tie a nice knot like we did on the sides. I like to take the right needle, put it on top of the left, and wrap it 1, 2, 3, tie a knot. And do another knot, make a double knot in the opposite order, right? So now we're going to put the right needle over the left, 1, 2, 3, and tie another knot. Okay, nice little double knot, really secure. Okay, this bag it doesn't have a lining, so you're going to see this thread on the inside, but that's okay. I'll cut off the excess, cut it a little shorter, use that lighter so the edges don't fray and they stay put on you. See that flame in there? And then use a scissors or something to kind of pat that down. Now we have our first D-ring attached. Cool. In the next tutorial, I'll make a strap for this. But for this video, we're just making the main purse. I like to have a separate strap. That way you can change the strap out if you want, right? So now let's work on the other side, right? We'll take some more of that same color thread. We'll attach 2 needles to it. And we'll start sewing. Looks like I'm starting from the bottom again, and that's okay. We're just going to do the same thing we did on the other side. Tighten it up as you go. And when you get to those 6 holes, make sure you fold this down, but naturally put on your D-ring first before you fold, right? And you're gonna line all 6 of those holes through 3 different layers of leather. Try to grab all the holes in one pass if you can. Let's see if I can get at least 2 of these. If you can't, that's okay. Sometimes it's hard to see. Wrong hole. Let me see here. Yeah, make sure you don't jump holes. Use your awl if you need to help you kind of get any hole larger. Now that needle will fit in there nice. Don't need my pliers. And then I'm going to find that same hole on the side of the bag. Tighten it up. Make sure that thread doesn't get in the way of the D-ring. Cinch it up a bit. Right? See, we're doing the same thing. Okay, run that next needle back through the same hole from the inside. It's a little tricky to see inside the bag. That's okay, we can do it. Perhaps sewing the D-ring on first with like a different design might have made this a little easier, right? Maybe I could have put some different hole structure in there, but that's okay. For my first bag, I think this is a nice, simple way to attach these D-rings. You could have used a rivet if you wanted, right? You could have integrated the strap right into the piece, but I like to be able to have like a little, like a clasps where you can just attach and detach. You can change out the strap, and you can also run this without a strap if you wanted. Suppose I could have put a handle on the top, but for this one, it's just nice and simple. All right, I think I'm going to give this purse away as a gift. Okay, that side looks pretty good. We're almost done here. Again, when you're going to tie off, make sure both needles stay on the inside of the bag. You wouldn't want to tie off on the outside. We don't really want to see that. And if you have to go through a hole twice, that's okay. Try to avoid that, but if you do a double stitch, it's not a big deal. Use those pliers to help you get that needle out of there. And I think we're good to tie off now. So make sure everything is nice and cinched up. Okay. Again, let's make that double knot, right? We're going to put that left needle over the right. 1, 2, 3. Tie a knot. Cinch it down. Now right needle over the left. 1, 2, 3. Tie that double knot. Cut off the excess. Okay. And light the ends. Yep. Press that. Don't use your finger if you can help it. Okay, you can kind of see those where I tied off in the inside. See them? That's okay. Maybe on the next bag I'll put a liner or something where we can hide some of that. But on this first bag, nice and simple. You only need a few pieces of leather, so I'm trying to keep this nice and simple. Not adding any dye or stain, just keeping this natural. Probably add some lotion here at the end, but this will change color over time after you handle it too. I like to keep some of these projects like that raw veg tan look. Okay, looks pretty good. I think I'm happy with this. This looks cool. Now we have to have a way to secure, to secure the flap, right? So it just doesn't stay open. You can use a snap. You could use some buckles. But I think for this small bag, we're just going to add these 2 straps and these smaller retaining pieces where those straps are going to slide into. Okay, so I didn't mark these holes on my template, but you can kind of position these however you like, right? So get out your needle and thread and your awl again, kind of fold that top part down, that flap, and sort of position this flap however you like it, however long you want it. And I just simply mark these holes with the strap holes, right? Just re-awl them out, make sure they're large enough, just like we did on the other sections. Okay. Right, I think that looks pretty good. See those matching holes, right? It's gonna just lay on top like that. Same thing, we'll just saddle stitch, get equal distance, put those needles together and get equal distance. Just pick a hole and start. Try not to start in the middle if you can help it, but it doesn't really matter. You'll come back to where you started from and you'll be able to tie off, again, on the inside. So let's move on to the next hole. Flip that bag around if you need to, right? I'm putting that other needle through the same hole, but the other direction, right? And it's a saddle stitch. Try to move that thread down so you don't pierce the thread. That's sort of the tricky part with saddle stitching. You don't want to pierce that thread. Try to find that hole. If you can find, if you have to do it one section at a time, that's okay, right? So I'm only going through one section here, and then I'll grab that other hole. Sometimes it's hard to align them all at this, or align both at the same time, especially when you're starting, right? It's kind of moving around on you. Suppose you could have put some leathercraft cement to help it stay in place, but that's okay. All right, keep going. Okay, tie off just like we did before. Okay, cinch it up and cut off the excess. Okay, make sure it's short enough and then light those ends. Make sure you have scissors or your awl to press that down once it's been lit. Okay, and see, I'm just gonna kind of pat that, press it down. It's gonna help this thing from unraveling. I think that looks pretty cool, right? You don't really see those stitches from the front. So now we're gonna have to do the same thing with the other one. Try to align it the best you can. I'm just eyeballing it. You can measure these out. Make sure they're equal distance from the sides and from each other, but I'm just eyeballing this. Mark those holes again, re-awl them. Okay, let's start stitching up this second flap. Okay, just like we did on the other one. Same exact thing. It's a nice project to practice your saddle stitching, right? Suppose you could have put these flaps on first. You probably could have put those D-ring flaps on, the side pieces first, and then sew the whole thing together at the end. I like to be able to position the flaps at the end when everything's connected, so. But you can do it in a different order if you like. You could add a snap if you wanted. You could put some buckles on these, but this bag is pretty small, so I don't think it's gonna like necessarily come open on you. This is just a tiny little purse. It's a nice unisex design too, which I really like. Okay, cut off that excess and light those ends. Use your scissors to press them down, and looks like we have our straps. I think this bag is starting to take shape. Isn't that cool? It's like a mini messenger bag. Really cute. Super cute. Now we're going to put these little retaining pieces on the front. Mark those holes. Try to keep it straight. You can angle them a little bit. Okay, re-awl the holes. Make sure they're large enough to accept those needles. Right? I don't like to put these holes on my template. You could if you were designing your own template. But you can kind of position these however you like. You can put them a little higher or lower, but they naturally need to be lined up with those flaps, so the flaps can fit inside of them, right? You've got enough distance in between, right? Make sure those holes are big enough. Make sure you didn't miss any holes. I think I missed one there, so I went back through using that top little piece as a template, right? Kind of all these, make sure they're all nice and consistent. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I think we're ready to sew this up. All right, I think that'll be good. Now you don't need much thread for this. And I suppose you can do it with one length, but then you're gonna have a long piece connecting. So I'm just gonna do each one of these in two different sections, right? I'm gonna have to tie off twice per little section here. Okay, use your pliers if you need help. Okay, now we're ready to tie off. Make sure that knot's nice and tight and trim off the excess. Okay, that fits in there pretty good. That looks pretty cool. I like that. It's a little angled, but I think that's okay. Now we're just going to add our second one. Yeah, that looks cool. And that'll keep that bag nice and secure. It's easy to open too. Wow, now I got both sections on here. This looks great, right? Easy to open. Sometimes buckles are just a pain, especially when you're wearing it and you're trying to access something in the bag. This one's really easy to open and pretty easy to close too. So I think on our final step here, we're just gonna add some lotion, right? Add some Phoebing's leather lotion, right? We're just gonna add this with a paper towel, right? Now this leather is going to be pretty thirsty, so I imagine I'm going to have to add a lot of the leather lotion to it. I'll have to see here. All right, try to go in even, consistent circular motions. Get that spread out nice and consistent. Don't get worried if the color changes. Obviously, it's darker where you've just added, but it'll dry up. But try to kind of smooth this out. Ooh, this is the fun part. Yeah, this is nice. No dye, no stain, just nice leather lotion. On this nice veg tan leather. This looks cool. Nice and natural look. It's okay if you get lotion on the stitching. That's okay. Suppose you could have lotioned up each section before you stitched it, but I'm just doing it all at the end. Make sure you get underneath those flaps, right? try to be consistent, right? Those corners, the sides, right? Anything that looks a little lighter. Keeping this purse nice and natural. I didn't buff it, didn't color it. I'm just going for a natural look here. Okay, you can kind of put your hand inside of that bag and help you, especially when you're doing that rounded bottom corner, right? Looks pretty good. Again, this will dry up. It'll be just about the same color as it was originally, but just while it's wet, while it's absorbing, it's just a little darker. Let me add some more lotion to the front section here. All right. Really fun. This is fun. Nice and easy. It's a nice rewarding step with this project. If you stuck with me this long, I'm super proud of you. Hope you feel comfortable you can make your own leather goods now, right? This is nice and simple purse. Nothing too fancy. Pretty minimal cost. All you need is a few D-rings and one 12 by 24 sheet of leather and one 8.5 by 11 sheet of leather. I cut the smaller accessories with my Cricut, and I cut the bigger section by hand with the paper template, right? You could have cut these all by hand, and you could have cut the larger section with the Cricut as well, but it just shows you a couple of different ways you can cut leather. If you don't have a Cricut, yeah, use your hand, right? If you go slow and have a nice sharp craft knife, you can cut pretty much anything. You can mark those holes the same way I did on the larger section. So you see this is kind of dried up a bit, and I'm just kind of blending this lotion out, making sure it's nice and consistent, right? That leather's real porous, but this will keep it nice and supple and soft over time, right? Very pretty. Okay, I like this. This looks great. Good job.